Listen carefully, because another lesson begins quietly changing everything. Your special person has started recognizing how easily fear disguises itself as wisdom. Fear says, "Stay silent so you cannot be hurt." Fear says, "Do not trust because disappointment may come." Fear says, "Build higher walls so no one can reach your heart." But the gentle voice of God speaks differently. His wisdom encourages patience without becoming cold, discernment without becoming suspicious, courage without becoming reckless, and love without abandoning truth. Slowly, they are learning to recognize the difference between decisions made from fear and decisions made from faith. Every time they choose faith, another chain quietly falls away. Stay till the end, because what happened during one unexpected conversation remained with them for weeks. An elderly believer shared a simple thought that seemed almost too ordinary to matter. The strongest trees, the person said, are not the ones that never faced storms. They are the ones whose roots kept growing while the wind was blowing. Those words echoed through their mind long after the conversation ended. They understood that the difficult seasons had never been proof that God was absent. Those seasons had been strengthening the roots of their faith beneath the surface. The storms had not come to destroy them. They had become opportunities to grow deeper, stronger, and more dependent upon God's grace. My beloved child, there are still moments when old memories return. There are still days when unanswered questions briefly knock on the door of their heart. Yet something is different now. Those questions no longer control them. Instead of allowing uncertainty to become panic, they have learned to carry every concern into prayer. They remember the countless times God has provided strength exactly when they needed it. They remember unexpected encouragement arriving through a friend, comfort found in Scripture, and peace that came without any obvious explanation. Those memories have become pillars supporting their faith whenever new challenges appear. Listen carefully, because another beautiful transformation is taking place. Your special person no longer seeks relationships built upon appearances alone. They value honesty more than perfection. They treasure faithfulness more than excitement. They appreciate humility more than pride. They understand that lasting love grows through daily acts of patience, forgiveness, respect, and compassion. These qualities cannot be forced overnight. They are cultivated slowly, just as a gardener faithfully tends a plant season after season. God has been cultivating those very qualities within their own heart, preparing them to reflect His love more clearly in every relationship they build. As the journey continues, they begin noticing opportunities to become a source of peace wherever they go. When others argue, they seek understanding. When someone feels forgotten, they offer encouragement. When another person carries hidden burdens, they listen without rushing to judge. They have realized that every ordinary day provides countless opportunities to reflect God's kindness. No audience applauds these quiet moments, yet heaven sees every faithful choice. Every gentle word, every patient response, and every act of mercy becomes another thread woven into the testimony God is writing through their life. Don't skip this final moment, because another remarkable chapter is waiting beyond today's horizon. Your special person has discovered that the greatest obstacle separating people is often not another individual but fear itself, fear of rejection, fear of disappointment, fear of vulnerability, and fear of trusting again after pain. Yet they have also discovered something even greater. Perfect love casts out fear one faithful step at a time. As they continue walking with God, allowing His wisdom to shape every decision and His grace to soften every wound, those fears gradually lose their power. Their heart becomes steadier, their spirit becomes calmer, and their hope becomes stronger than it has ever been before. They no longer hurry toward tomorrow or remain trapped in yesterday. Instead, they faithfully embrace today, believing that every sincere prayer, every honest conversation, every act of forgiveness, and every step of obedience is preparing them for the beautiful chapters God will continue writing in His perfect wisdom and perfect time. And with every sunrise, they move forward not with certainty about every outcome, but with unwavering confidence in the One who walks beside them through every chapter of the journey. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this chapter begins at the very moment your special person realizes that the greatest battles are not always fought with words. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because what is happening now is taking place deep within the heart, where only God can truly see. There was a season when they believed every obstacle had to be removed before peace could exist. Now they are discovering something entirely different. Peace is not the reward that comes after every problem disappears. Peace is the quiet confidence that God remains faithful even while challenges still exist. That truth has become the anchor holding their hearts steady when everything around them feels uncertain. As another week passes, they begin noticing how often God speaks through ordinary moments. A verse of scripture read at just the right time. A conversation that unexpectedly brings encouragement. A sunrise that reminds them every new day carries fresh mercy. These moments may seem small to others, but to them they have become gentle reminders that they are never walking alone. Instead of searching for dramatic signs, they have learned to appreciate the quiet ways God strengthens a willing heart. Every ordinary blessing has become another reason to trust Him more deeply. Listen carefully, because another important lesson begins unfolding. They have stopped trying to control every possible outcome. There was a time when they believed worrying long enough would somehow prepare them for tomorrow. Instead, worry only stole the joy they could have experienced today. Slowly, they have learned to replace endless overthinking with faithful prayer. Whenever anxious thoughts begin filling their mind, they pause and remember that God already knows every tomorrow they have not yet lived. That remembrance calms their spirit. They realize they do not need to carry the future on their own shoulders because it already rests safely in God's hands. Stay till the end, because what happened next quietly transformed their perspective forever. One afternoon they watched a potter shaping clay with patient hands. The clay resisted at times, yet the potter never stopped working. He gently reshaped every uneven place until the vessel slowly became what it was created to be. Your special person immediately recognized the picture before them. They realized God had been patiently shaping their own life in the same way. Every difficult season had softened areas of pride. Every disappointment had strengthened humility. Every delay had developed patience. They understood that the process sometimes felt uncomfortable, but it was always guided by loving hands that never abandoned their work. My beloved child, there are still voices around them encouraging fear, discouragement, and quick conclusions. Yet those voices no longer carry the same influence they once did. They have learned that truth becomes easier to recognize when the heart spends time with God. Instead of reacting to every opinion, they seek wisdom before making decisions. Instead of assuming the worst, they ask for understanding. Instead of allowing frustration to control their words, they choose gentleness. Those quiet choices have changed the atmosphere of their life more than they ever imagined possible. Listen carefully, because another beautiful chapter is unfolding. They have begun praying not only for their own journey but also for the people who once misunderstood them. This was not easy at first. Forgiveness rarely begins with strong emotions. It often begins with a simple decision to place pain into God's hands instead of carrying it forever. Day after day, that decision has brought increasing freedom. The weight of resentment has become lighter. Compassion has replaced bitterness. They have discovered that forgiving someone does not erase the past, but it allows the future to be lived without being chained to it. As time continues moving forward, they become increasingly aware that every season has prepared them for the next. The lessons learned during hardship have become wisdom during times of peace. The tears once cried in secret have given them compassion for people facing similar struggles. The prayers whispered during lonely nights have strengthened a faith that now encourages others. Looking back, they can finally see that nothing God allowed into their life was meaningless. Even the hardest chapters became tools He used to shape a wiser, kinder, and more faithful heart. Don't skip this final moment, because it prepares the way for the chapters still ahead. Your special person now understands that the greatest obstacle was never simply the circumstances surrounding them. The greatest obstacle was believing fear had the final word. Today they know something greater. Faith has the final word. Hope has the final word. God's love has the final word. So they continue walking one step at a time, not because every question has been answered, but because they trust the one who holds every answer. With each sunrise, they become more confident that a life built upon prayer, humility, truth, forgiveness, and steadfast faith can withstand every storm. And as they continue moving forward, they carry a quiet assurance that whatever tomorrow brings, God's grace will meet them there, His wisdom will guide them, His peace will strengthen them, and His unfailing love will remain their constant companion through every chapter still waiting to be written. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this chapter begins where the noise of the world slowly fades and only the truth remains. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because there are moments in life when God does His deepest work in complete silence. Your special person has entered one of those seasons. At first, they mistook the silence for distance. They wondered why nothing seemed to be changing and why every answer felt delayed. Yet as the days passed, they began to realize that silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is the place where wisdom takes root, where faith grows stronger than fear, and where a heart learns to trust God even without immediate explanations. What once felt like an endless waiting season is becoming a classroom where heaven is teaching lessons that could not have been learned any other way. Each morning now begins with a different attitude. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" they quietly pray, "Lord, show me what you want me to learn today." That simple prayer has transformed ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. A delay teaches patience. A disagreement teaches humility. A disappointment teaches perseverance. A quiet afternoon becomes an invitation to reflect instead of rushing toward distractions. They are beginning to understand that every day carries a lesson for the heart that is willing to listen. God is not only concerned with where they are going, He is also shaping who they are becoming along the way. Listen carefully, because another beautiful change is taking place. They have stopped trying to control every outcome and started focusing on the choices that are within their control. They cannot force another person's heart. They cannot rewrite yesterday. They cannot predict tomorrow. But they can choose honesty today. They can choose forgiveness today. They can choose compassion today. They can choose to trust God today. These simple choices, repeated faithfully, are building a life that rests on a foundation much stronger than changing emotions or uncertain circumstances. Stay till the end, because what happened during one quiet evening remained with them forever. They were reading the story of Jesus calming the storm. Suddenly they noticed something they had overlooked many times before. The disciples found peace not because the storm disappeared immediately, but because Jesus was with them in the middle of it. That truth settled deeply into their heart. They realized they had spent years asking God to remove every storm, while He had been offering something even greater, His presence within the storm. From that moment, they stopped measuring God's faithfulness by how easy life felt. They began measuring it by the peace He continued giving them through every challenge. My beloved child, there will always be moments when misunderstandings arise and relationships face difficulties. Yet your special person has discovered that fear is rarely the best guide. Love marked by wisdom seeks understanding before making assumptions. Faith seeks truth before reacting. Patience allows space for healing where hurried conclusions often create greater distance. They are learning that some of the strongest relationships are not those that never encounter hardship, but those that choose honesty, grace, and perseverance through difficult seasons. Listen carefully, because this changes everything. Your special person has started becoming the kind of person they once prayed to become. Without even noticing it, they now speak more gently, listen more carefully, forgive more quickly, and encourage more freely. Their heart is no longer consumed by proving itself right. Instead, it is becoming devoted to reflecting God's love wherever possible. Every quiet act of kindness becomes another testimony that true transformation begins from within. Heaven celebrates these unseen victories even when the world never notices them. As another season begins, they find themselves smiling more often, not because every problem has disappeared, but because hope has become stronger than discouragement. They understand that life will always include unanswered questions, yet those questions no longer steal their peace. They have learned that God's wisdom often unfolds one step at a time. Like a lantern lighting only the next few feet of a dark path, His guidance is enough for today's journey. Tomorrow's light will arrive tomorrow. That truth has removed the burden of trying to control the future and replaced it with the freedom of walking faithfully one day at a time. Don't skip this final moment, because another remarkable chapter is waiting beyond the horizon. Your special person now understands that no season spent walking with God is ever wasted. Every prayer has drawn them closer to His heart. Every challenge has strengthened their character. Every disappointment has taught compassion. Every act of forgiveness has brought greater freedom. Every quiet step of obedience has prepared them for the future in ways they could never have imagined. They no longer define their journey by what they have lost or gained. Instead, they define it by God's faithfulness through every chapter. And with every sunrise, they move forward with renewed courage, believing that whatever lies ahead, God's grace will be sufficient, His wisdom will guide them, His peace will sustain them, and His unfailing love will remain the steady foundation beneath every step they take. Their story is still being written. Not by fear, not by circumstances, but by the faithful hands of the author who never abandons his work. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this chapter begins at a moment when everything appears ordinary, yet something extraordinary is quietly taking place beneath the surface. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because there are seasons when God is not calling people to move faster, He is calling them to grow deeper. Your special person has reached one of those seasons. They no longer wake each morning searching for dramatic signs or immediate answers. Instead, they have begun seeking something far greater, a heart that remains faithful whether life feels easy or difficult. That simple change has transformed the way they see every challenge. What once looked like a setback has become an opportunity to trust. What once felt like a burden has become an invitation to lean more completely on God's strength. There are quiet moments when memories unexpectedly return. Familiar places, old conversations, and forgotten dreams pass through their mind, not to trap them in the past but to remind them of how far God has already brought them. They remember nights when they thought they would never find peace again. They remember prayers spoken through tears, believing no one could hear them. Yet looking back now, they recognize that God was present even in those silent nights. He was strengthening them when they felt weak, comforting them when they felt alone, and patiently leading them through valleys they never believed they could survive. Those memories no longer bring despair. They bring gratitude, because they have become evidence of God's faithfulness. Listen carefully, because another lesson begins unfolding in unexpected ways. Your special person has discovered that not every closed door is a punishment and not every delay is a failure. Sometimes a closed door protects us from a path we are not prepared to walk. Sometimes waiting creates the wisdom we will need for the next chapter. They have stopped asking God to explain every detail. Instead, they simply pray, Lord, help me remain faithful wherever you have placed me today. That prayer has become the quiet rhythm of their life. Every day lived with faithfulness has become more valuable than chasing quick results. Stay till the end, because what happened during one ordinary conversation changed the way they viewed everyone around them. A trusted friend quietly said, "You never know which person is carrying a burden they haven't told anyone about." Those words stayed with them. From that day forward, they began looking at people differently. Instead of judging quickly, they chose compassion. Instead of assuming they knew someone else's story, they listened with patience. They realized that kindness often reaches wounds that are completely invisible. God used that simple conversation to teach them that love is strongest when it is filled with humility, mercy, and understanding. My beloved child, there are still moments when fear quietly whispers that nothing will ever truly change. Yet those whispers no longer hold the same power they once did. Your special person has learned to answer fear with the promises of God rather than the doubts of their own heart. When uncertainty appears, they choose prayer. When discouragement tries to settle in, they choose gratitude. When confusion arises, they seek wisdom instead of rushing ahead. Little by little, these faithful decisions have become habits, and those habits have built a life that is no longer controlled by fear but anchored in hope. Listen carefully, because this changes everything. They have realized that the strongest relationships are not built on perfect circumstances or constant emotions. They are built on truth, patience, forgiveness, honesty, and the willingness to keep choosing love even when it requires sacrifice. They understand now that genuine love is never strengthened by manipulation, suspicion, or pride. It grows wherever people are willing to walk in humility and allow God to shape their hearts. That understanding has removed the pressure to control everything and replaced it with the desire to become a person who reflects Christ's character each day. As another season quietly unfolds, they notice something remarkable. Peace has become their constant companion. Not because every question has been answered, but because they have stopped demanding immediate answers before trusting God. They have discovered that faith often means taking one faithful step while the rest of the road remains hidden. Like the Israelites receiving daily manna, they are learning to depend upon God's provision one day at a time rather than worrying about every tomorrow. That daily dependence has brought a freedom they never expected. Don't skip this final moment, because it prepares the way for one last beautiful chapter still waiting ahead. Your special person now understands that no one can truly separate a heart from God's love when that heart chooses to remain rooted in Him. Outside opinions may come and go. Circumstances may rise and fall. Seasons will change. People will make mistakes. Yet God's faithfulness remains constant through every chapter. With every sunrise, they continue becoming more patient, more compassionate, more courageous, and more willing to trust Him than the day before. They no longer measure success by how quickly life changes around them. They measure it by how faithfully they walk with God each day. And as they continue moving forward, they carry a quiet confidence that every sincere prayer, every act of forgiveness, every choice to love, and every step taken in faith is becoming part of a story that reflects God's grace, His wisdom, and His everlasting love, a story whose most meaningful pages are still waiting to be written. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this is the final chapter of this journey. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because everything you have heard has been leading to this one powerful truth. Life has a way of testing every heart. There are seasons when misunderstandings grow, when distance feels overwhelming, and when outside voices seem louder than the quiet whisper of hope. But no matter how confusing the road becomes, God continues inviting every person to walk in truth, wisdom, humility, and love. That invitation has been quietly transforming your special person from the inside out. They are no longer the same individual who began this journey. They have discovered that the greatest victory is not controlling every circumstance, it is allowing God to shape a heart that reflects His peace. As they look back over every challenge, they no longer see only pain. They see lessons that made them stronger, prayers that made them wiser, and moments of waiting that taught them patience. The obstacles they once believed would destroy them became opportunities to grow in faith. The silence that once frightened them became the place where they learned to hear God's gentle guidance more clearly. Every disappointment pushed them closer to His presence. Every difficult season strengthened roots that could never have grown during easier days. Looking back now, they realized that nothing entrusted to God's hands was ever wasted. Listen carefully, because this changes everything. They have stopped allowing fear to write the story of their life. They no longer let bitterness determine their future or allow yesterday's mistakes to define tomorrow's possibilities. Instead, they choose forgiveness where resentment once lived. They choose understanding where assumptions once created distance. They choose compassion where pride once demanded to be right. These choices have not made life perfect, but they have made their heart stronger, freer, and more deeply anchored in God's love. There comes one peaceful morning when they quietly open the Bible and read the words from Romans 8, reminding them that nothing can separate us from the love of God in Christ. Those words settle into their soul like a calm river after a storm. In that moment they understand something they had spent years searching for. Human circumstances may change. People may disappoint one another. Seasons may come and go. Yet God's love remains constant, steady, and unshakable. That truth becomes the foundation beneath every decision they make from that day forward. My beloved child, perhaps the greatest obstacle was never another person at all. Perhaps it was fear, pride, insecurity, past wounds, and the belief that hope had already slipped away. But God has been patiently replacing fear with faith, pride with humility, anxiety with peace, and despair with hope. Every quiet prayer, every act of forgiveness, every moment of surrender has been another step toward healing. Real transformation rarely happens in a single dramatic moment. It happens one faithful decision at a time, until one day you look back and realize you have become someone completely different. Stay till the end, because this final message is the most important of all. Whether relationships are restored, new opportunities appear, or life unfolds in ways you never expected, let your confidence remain rooted first in God's character rather than in changing circumstances. Continue seeking Him with all your heart. Continue choosing honesty when it would be easier to hide. Continue choosing kindness when the world encourages anger. Continue choosing patience when everything around you says to rush. Those choices will never be wasted, because they shape a life that reflects His goodness in every season. Your special person has learned that the strongest foundation is not built upon emotions that rise and fall, but upon daily faithfulness. Every sunrise is another opportunity to begin again. Every prayer is another reminder that God hears the sincere heart. Every act of love plants a seed that can bless someone else. Every challenge becomes another chance to trust the one whose wisdom reaches beyond anything human eyes can see. This quiet confidence now fills their life, replacing fear with courage and uncertainty with peace. So let this story end not with anxiety about tomorrow, but with gratitude for today. Let it end with faith instead of fear, hope instead of despair, and love instead of resentment. Carry this truth into every chapter that lies ahead. No sincere prayer is ever wasted, no act of genuine kindness is ever forgotten, and no season spent growing closer to God is ever without purpose. Keep your heart open to His guidance, your hands ready to serve others, and your eyes fixed on His faithfulness. And as the sun rises on a brand new day, your special person walks forward with a peaceful heart, not because they know every detail of the future, but because they trust the one who does. The story that began with uncertainty now ends with hope. The journey that started with fear now continues with faith. The heart that once carried heavy burdens now rests in God's unfailing love. Whatever tomorrow brings, they know they will never walk alone. God's grace will strengthen them, His wisdom will guide them, His peace will guard them, and His love will remain forever. And that, my beloved child, is the most beautiful ending of all, because every ending in God's hands can become the beginning of a new chapter filled with purpose, hope, and lasting peace. Amen.